And I remember, so Michael, this was when he was finishing, his career was now ending, and his car crashed actually, so he didn't finish the race, but it crashed there. I was like, Michael!
The joy of it. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Chica Travel Podcast. My guest today is one of the most accomplished marketing executives in South Africa, but that's not why she's here today. She's actually someone I discovered on Instagram. I had no idea who she was. I saw a random post and I was like, oh, who's this lady? She looks like so much fun. And then I found out. So today she is here because we share a love for travel, a love for exploration, a love for F1, and maybe Lewis Hamilton.
And maybe Lewis Hamilton.
Hello, Kensi, welcome.
No, thank you. Thank you for having me.
I am so happy you came because I've been thinking about the fact that I want to have a discussion that also includes a bit about F1 because I think F1 travel is one of the best things F1 lovers can do for themselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think when you are described, people always, default to all the work stuff. Yeah. But beyond the corporate executive, who is Kensi?
Yeah. So it's an interesting question. I mean, I think one of the most important things for me is no matter what setting you interact with me, you're going to get Kensi the same. So I'm pretty consistent and authentic in whichever setting that, you interact with me. But I guess, people would say very passionate person, lives life. Like one of the things I always say is like, when I die, I want my body to be like, yeah, thank you.
That was enough.
That was a lot. Like, so really believe in living life to its fullest. My own rules, to be honest. I really don't conform or anything. I mean, even when I go to board meetings, at the bank and stuff, I come in with my sneakers. And, it's just
love it. Yeah.
Married to Nelson. We've got a gorgeous dog that we absolutely love, Samuel Jackson. Sister, daughter, but also aunt to Zoe, Alex, and Amani. Very, very close to them because I chose not to have kids a long time ago in my hubby, and also, when we got married. And so actually amazing aunt. They're very lucky to have me.
I think so too. So is your doggy. Samuel L. Jackson.
Samuel L. Jackson.
But too.
I had to mix it up. I'm a marketer. Yeah. But I guess, honestly speaking, very consistent person. Like whether you meet me at work, personally, whatever.
I think that inspires me so much because it's like this is I mean, I didn't know you, but this is me. I've always been like, I'm in corporate as well, but I've always been like, I don't want to have to change who I am just because of where I'm at. Can I just be myself? So I always appreciate when I see people who do that. And I think when I saw you, I mean, I didn't even know. And then I'm like, how she is this person? Oh, man, she's so free. She's so chilled, which I absolutely love. So how does travel then fit into this version of you? How did you actually get started into the travel thing and realize, I love this?
I love traveling. Yeah. I mean, so firstly, I'm South African, but I grew up in exile. So I think that already set me up as a person who was curious about the world. So just growing up as a kid, I was born in Eswatini, lived in Moz, Zambia, Ghana, and Tanzania. So already just as a kid, right? Like you understand that the world is more than this little, thing that you live in. And I mean, I remember moments like in Mozambique when we lived in Maputo, like, we were on in a block of flats at the top and learning how to count in Portuguese,
wow.
and just that. I was very lucky enough that I got hit as a kid that you get to experience things that you just never wouldn't normally experience. So I think that already just set me up as someone who was interested in the world. And then when I started working and earning my own money and I was trying to figure out just in life, like what is it that, and when I think about it, my most disposable income is actually spent on travel. Like, so how do I want to, you know what I mean? Like, how do I actually want to spend my life and my money and all of that? And travel actually was one of the things that was at the top of the list and stuff. And for many reasons, I mean, I think we can talk about them. And so, like it really just came from that. But actually, maybe the last thing I would say is I'm an avid reader. And
I saw you take pictures of some of them.
And
Yeah.
honestly, like, and I read everything. I've got like nonfiction, fiction, like I smell everything.
Yeah.
And I realized through books that there was a bigger world like out there, and I wanted to experience that world and stuff. Yeah, so it came from that.
Wow. Okay. I think just on that point, I love that thing about books, because I was actually talking to a friend of mine. I was just talking about a course that I'm doing, like a macroeconomics, and I was just talking about how exciting it is. And she was like, "Oh, but all of these things, I found out about them through reading books."
Exactly.
So it's like actually reading is a thing. So when
Yeah.
you think about some of the books that you have read, w- I'm sure they inspire where you go,
Yeah.
because sometimes we read books and they inspire where we want to go. Sometimes we watch movies and they inspire where we want to go.
Yeah.
What are some of the places that you've been to because of what you read about in books and you're like, okay, oh, I want to go and explore?
Yeah. I mean, I would say so. It's a combination of books and series. So
Yes.
one of the weirdest things about me is I love zombies,
Oh
vampires,
my
like, and
gosh.
all of that stuff. So I was in Romania last year. Was it? Yeah, it was last year. I was in Romania last year, and truly speaking, I went because I wanted to go to Dracula's castle.
Oh my God. That was the plan.
That was the plan. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Bucharest is gorgeous. I mean, Eastern Europe is like so. It's underrated from a travel
I
perspective.
haven't explored it.
It
Yeah.
is incredible. I've been to a couple of places there, and so Bucharest, just as a city, is gorgeous. The people are amazing, and stuff. But honestly, I went there because I wanted to go to Dracula's castle. And as I was touring the castle, and so the Dracula character is based on a real, like, count, prince, like from the Romanian era.
Yeah.
And when you're there and you just go through it, it was so fascinating because I was like, yeah, I can see how he was Dracula. Like,
Yeah. It makes sense.
It makes sense and stuff. So
Yeah.
that was, in a weird way, like just reading that and wanting to understand more about like how did this character come about. I mean, Dracula was written by Bram Stoker, the writer, and he created this character based on this guy. And so I went like, and saw that. But also like just other things like confidence, for example. So I'll tell you, one of the books I read as a kid was Blabber by Judy Blume. And it was all about a young kid who was overweight and being bullied and stuff. And how she reacts to it and responds to it. I'm very lucky I was never bullied as a kid. But I can tell you that book, I read it in grade 2. That book gave me the confidence, because I think part of travel is, especially like, so I do travel alone with friends, when you're alone, to be able to say, please take a picture of me, like, please do this, please do
It
this.
requires some confidence.
Some confidence,
Yes.
and that book actually helped me understand that, one, I was never going to allow people to bully me and stuff, but also just doesn't matter your look and whatever, because the way she responds to the bullying and stuff was quite, people ask me like, what's one book that really sticks in your head? Just life. And I say Judy Blume, Blabber, and I was like, isn't that like a kid's book? Yes, it is.
Yeah, because it just I guess planted that thing in you at that point.
Absolutely. I was in grade 2 and I took it out of the library at school, and then I asked my mom to buy it for me. She was like, "Oh, my parents," and they were like, "But you've read it. Why should we buy it for you?" So then, you know what I started doing? I took like a writing pad and I took the book and I started rewriting it. My parents were like, "Okay, now let's just buy her the book. Like, this makes zero sense."
Oh my goodness! Well, you were making a plan. Oh, there's no copying. What? I'll do it myself. That is awesome. Okay, so fast forward to now.
Yeah.
You've got a list.
Yeah, 50 before 50.
50. Kensi's 50 before 50.
Yeah.
Where did that idea come from? And are you actually keeping up with that list?
I am. So firstly, actually, because you probably only followed me as I was in my 40s. I had
Literally like a couple of months ago. You just before Monza.
Exactly. So I had a 40 before 40 list. So before I turned 40, I had a list. And again, it's one of those things where I just don't think I think you should figure out what type of experiences you want to have in your life and what are the important things and stuff. So that the list helps me focus myself in terms of really what do I want to do, Some parts of the list, by the way, happen that actually were not on the list. And then I go, well, that's on my list now. I mean, it's
that's
happened.
How it goes.
That's how it goes. Some parts of the list I end up not doing. And so I give myself the space to be spontaneous within it and be like, well, that's not going to happen anymore and stuff. And so my 40 before 40 list actually ended in my birthday in Vietnam. So I turned 40 on Halong Bay. on a junk, and it sounds like a bad ship, but they're beautiful. Like they're called they're
wow.
called junks
Oh, is that what they
with
called?
40 people, like my parents, my fiance at that time, my friends, my sister. And we were in Vietnam for like 2 nights on this junk, having the most beautiful so it was like the final 40
Oh,
thing. And so I
yes.
like when I turned like 44 5, I think 45, I
Mm,
was like, oh my gosh, actually I want to do a 50 before 50 list and stuff, because it really made me and pushed me to like experience more things than I would have
yeah.
experienced had I not put
Yeah.
that list together. So yeah,
Oh my goodness, that is amazing. So you had 40 people.
40 people. I can't even. I mean, people are like, we can't convince like 5 people to leave the
To
country,
come,
like,
yes.
and you got 39, and wanted my parents there, my
To
aunts and
be
uncles
there.
there, like, and so it wasn't just
Mm,
about group of friends and all of that. It was really
yes.
the people are really important to me. I had friends who,
Yeah.
because I used to live in Dubai for 3 years,
Yeah.
so I had like friends who like came from Bahrain, friends like who came
Everywhere.
from the Philippines, and yeah,
Yeah.
it's just a beautiful time. Honestly,
Oh
loved
my
it.
goodness. Okay, now I have to think about, ooh. But I love what you said, that firstly the list is
Yeah,
flexible. You may change your mind about
yeah,
going to other places.
yeah.
Have you been to a place on, as part of your 40 before 40 and said, oh yeah, been there, done that, never again?
Look, I give grace to every place I go
Yeah.
to.
Mm,
I'm not like a weird traveler that will come back and say like
mm,
never go here or whatever. No
mm,
matter what I experience. So I can tell you, for example, I Marrakesh in Morocco,
mm,
I actually found racist.
mm,
Um,
mm.
but beyond that, there's so much about Marrakesh,
That
like
is beautiful.
that is
Mm,
beautiful, that you can experience and all of that.
mm,
So I cannot name any place where I'm like
mm.
I'd never. I mean, generally
Mm.
anyway, I don't like going back to the. I travel very, like some people like going back to the same
That's
places. I know.
me.
I've seen like you like Lamu, like
And I'm going back
I
again
know.
now. So
So there are places I go back to. Like I love Istanbul, for example, is one of my favorite cities in the world. But in general, I
yeah.
like to go to new places. And
Yes.
my philosophy with travel is there's something in every place. Like, and so I would hardly say. I mean, I went to Gaza,
Oh wow.
and I remember like when I was in Gaza, um as a Christian,
Mm.
seeing where like the Church of Nazareth, where Jesus was born,
Mm.
but seeing how it was treated and just wasn't great, like was
Yeah.
quite painful as a Christian.
Mm.
But at the same time, understanding the context of that place, right?
Mm-hmm.
And because it almost it felt so touristy and it's so core to like Christianity.
Mm.
And so I decided to focus on the fact that I was in the Church of Nazareth, like,
Yeah.
and that was actually more
Yeah.
important than the touristy vibe around it. So,
Mm.
yeah, I would say you can always find something
Mm.
positive about any place that you go to.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm like that.
That is so true. Wow. So, in terms of the list, then just going back to the
Yeah.
list, how many more to go?
So I'm on 27 and I'm
Okay.
47 now, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm turning 48 in October. So I've got 2 years to
Mm-hmm.
do, or 2 and a bit years to do my 23. And I'm gonna do it.
That's a lot.
I know people are like, how are you gonna do it? Okay, so I'll give you I was speaking to Joseph, my CPO outside, and
Mm.
I've just been invited to join this group called Imagine, right? And when you look at it's got a CEO circle,
Mm-hmm.
and they choose leaders around the world who they think can make like a positive impact on society. You go and look at the CEO circle. It's the former CEO of Burberry, former CEO of Unilever, this and that. So that wasn't on my list, right? But if they
Mm.
accept me, because I have to apply, blah, blah, but the fact that they've asked me to even apply, that's gonna now. If they accept me, that's on my list. There's
Okay,
no way
got
I can be
it.
part of this
Yeah,
circle
and not,
and not put it on my
yes.
list and stuff. So there
Yeah.
will be like stuff like that that will happen. The one of the things that's on the list, for example, is I've been to 87 countries and I want to get to 100. So I need to do
Mm.
13 countries before I turn 50, which I think is going to happen.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm pretty focused on that and stuff. So yeah, I'm on 27 and
Okay.
yeah,
And also because you're not too worried about repeating places
yeah,
like me, I
exactly.
just get like, I think actually I must take a leaf from your book to say, look, because I always sometimes struggle with where should I go.
Yeah.
Maybe have a list.
Yeah, exactly.
And then, you change it and adapt it as you go along. Then I will stop repeating.
And then, okay, by the way, like, look at Turkey. So when my last job at Unilever was category director for Africa, Middle East, and Turkey. So my teams were based in Dubai, in Durban, and in Istanbul. And so I used to go to Istanbul a lot, but I'd never been to Cappadocia, and I literally went recently. Actually, the other thing about going back to the same place, I think for me, is finding new experiences in that place.
Yes, definitely.
And then secondly, in Turkey is not known for wine. So I'm a lover of wine, right? And now, because I lost my passport. Did you see that entire drama? Oh, I'm going to tell you
lost your passport? Yes. Okay, you're going to tell us now.
That drama. So now I had to stay in Istanbul for longer than I thought I would. And then I was like, oh, well, I'm here.
Might as well.
What else must I do? Then I was speaking to this tour guide who had helped us with the retreat that I'd been on.
Yeah.
And he spoke about the winelands. I said, winelands in Turkey?
I did not know.
And this is the beauty, right? Because then I was like, he recommended like a wine farm for me to stay on. I was there for 3 days. It was beautiful.
So what part was that?
It's about a 3-hour drive from Istanbul. So it's
bad.
it's not bad. And I mean, he sorted everything out for me, booked the accommodation, and honestly, like, I asked the guys, who owns this wine farm? And they were like, it's a pharmaceutical guy. Like, and you can tell the art was beautiful.
Oh my God.
And then just tasting. So I always buy wine from every country that I visit. If they do have like wine, I mean, even Bulgaria, I bought wine and stuff, I don't feel like what, and so, just like discovering Turkey in such a different way was so beautiful for me, because Istanbul is one of my favorite cities. So I end up just doing Istanbul whenever I go. But this time, because of the passport stuff, I actually experienced different parts of Turkey than I would have in the past.
Okay, I want to ask you two things. First, I do want to hear about the passport story and what happened and what you did, most importantly, I think. And I also want to come back. Maybe we can come back to Istanbul. I've never thought of visiting Turkey.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen a lot of people go, and I've just been like, I don't know.
Yeah.
So I want to hear from you, like
why?
What is that pull?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so the passport thing, so the reason I was in Turkey this time is, so every 2 years I go on a personal retreat, and it's really around reconnecting with myself.
You go alone?
Alone. So it's about, it happens every 2 years, and it's interesting because it's focused on marketers, and the whole thing around it is marketing people actually have the ability to make a positive impact on society if they're clear about themselves and their own purpose. And so the Institute for Real Growth, which was started by 2 former Unilever marketers, started this retreats. They did the first one in Panama. 2 years ago, they did Mexico, which was the first one that I went to. And then they did Cappadocia in Turkey this time. And so I'd just done surgery, and I remember my doctor, first of all, just doing the surgery, he was like, you need to do the surgery. I was like, I'm going to America, just doing it when I come back. But this time I was like, okay, I have to do it. And then, so I did the surgery on the Tuesday, and I was flying out on the Sunday.
Oh my God.
And so I saw him on the Friday, because I said to him, I promise you I'm going to listen to you. If you say you can't travel, I won't. Go. So he said, go. And he asked me what I'll be doing. I said, I'm going to be on a retreat and, all of that. And so there was a lot of, I would say, meditating, journaling, try to do yoga, but realized the surgery, so I was in pain, so I couldn't do it. And then also just like long reflective walks. So in one of my long reflective walks, I lost my passport.
Walk, passport.
So like they always advise you and say, lock your passport. Or they say lock your passport in your hotel safe.
Yeah.
Mina, I carry my passport because I've been in countries where there's been a coup that happens. I want to be able to get out. I'm not going to the hotel.
Yo, stay ready.
I'm going straight to the airport. My clothes, maybe the hotel will send them at some stage. So I always have, and generally I have 2 or 3 passports at a time. So look, but this time it just was unfortunate. Like literally, my other passport had just expired.
Okay, so
and then I had this one. So it falls. So on the Thursday night we're packing to leave Cappadocia, and I don't have my passport, and I'm like trying to click, like wait. And I'm retracing my steps. And the problem is that place where we went for the walk is quite a massive place, right?
So
and
you wouldn't know where to start.
To start. So, went to the police station, they speak in Turkish, can't even yeah. So, but Pepe, the guide, was amazing. So, did all of that, called the embassy. So, and also Istanbul. So the embassy I thought was going to be in Istanbul. It's in Ankara, which is like a 4-hour train ride and stuff from Istanbul. And I've never been to Ankara. So I was like, well, so this is me going to Ankara now.
Extra place to
Extra
add to the
place,
list.
So we did all of that. The embassy in Ankara, South African embassy, was amazing. The consulate lady, she was just brilliant. So you have to get an emergency passport document, and they do your fingerprints, and they check them in Pretoria. Are you really South African? Because she says, imagine people just walk in and
they say, I lost my passport,
and then here you are.
But
But the only thing is with it is you can only go back home. That's it. You can't go to another country and stuff.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
Fine. So got my emergency passport. I know that I'm leaving Turkey Saturday. So I think I got it on the Tuesday. I'm decided. So I'm going wine farming. I'm doing all of that. On the Wednesday, I get a message on Instagram. This lady says, "Hi, I think I found your passport while I was doing a hike."
Oh my word.
I mean, I said, "What?" Yes. And I called her, I Instagram called her.
Yeah.
And then she's like, "Yeah, I was walking with my mom and we saw this green document. We picked it up. And she said the one thing that hit them, they were they saw a 10-year US visa, 10-year UK visa, 5-year Schengen visa. They were like, "Oh, we need to get this passport back to this lady and stuff." So she was still in Cappadocia and I was still on the winelands and stuff. So we said, no, we're both getting back into Istanbul on the Friday.
Oh, thank goodness.
And then I said to her, "Oh, you know what? So I love water. So I said, I've hired a yacht to go onto the Bosphorus and stuff. Your mom and you and your mom can join and stuff." So they came, they did the passport exchange, and then we were on the yacht together. And then I discovered that she's in marketing, because I'm in marketing.
What?
She's in marketing, so in fashion marketing in Italy, in Milan, and and this is the other thing about traveling. Then the mom says, so the mom's from Ukraine, but when the USSR broke up, she moved to the US and then met someone, and so the daughter's grown up American. So I said, "Oh, I've been to Ukraine. I went to Kiev, and here's what," and that connection made it even stronger. And that's the thing about travel, right? And especially for countries that people don't normally go to, Ukraine. She was like, "Wait, you've been to Kiev?"
Yes, couldn't believe it, because it's not a typical travel destination. Yeah.
So got my passport back.
That is a beautiful story. But I also just love how you were just open to just connecting with these people, because I think that's that thing about travel that I also love as well. It's just the connections that you make. Because next time you go there, maybe Luana, they will be there now. You're like, oh,
absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, that is so, so cool.
And then we can get back to Istanbul.
Yes, please.
So the thing that people don't know is that Istanbul sits on 2 continents, Europe and Asia. And it's such a fascinating combination, because you can actually tell when you're on the European side and you can tell when you're on the Asian side. It's just that already for me is interesting.
Yeah.
So the Bosphorus it becomes a river and a sea, basically divides the city into 2 and stuff. So I just think as a level of fascination, I love that. Then Turkey is I've been to a lot of Muslim countries, and Turkey is one of the few where the population is mostly Muslim, but state and religion are separated. Well, most Muslim countries are run with Sharia law and all of that. Turkey's not. And so whilst you find there's a lot of practicing Muslims, you also just find not a lot as well. So during Ramadan, for example, so when I lived in Dubai, you knew Ramadan, you cannot buy alcohol in the restaurants.
It's closed. Yeah.
Whereas in Turkey, you can. So even that contrast, right, of I think it is fascinating to me. And then if you think about the history of Turkey and Istanbul, the Ottoman Empire, all of that, and I'm a history buff, so that stuff interests me. And then they've just got the most beautiful buildings, even the mosques. One of my favorite mosques to go to is the Hagia Sophia. And the interesting thing about the Hagia Sophia is when you walk in, it's still got remnants of Christianity. So what they did is, even though they turned it into a mosque, they still have Jesus, they have the Virgin Mary, and just that powerfulness of religion is, or whatever the religion is, couldn't just all be good people. That's so it's got that. And then fashion wise, it is
yes, I've heard about that.
it is honestly, and you would be so surprised. Whenever I go to Istanbul, I have a budget because I know I'm going to spend.
Yeah.
They've got like one of just fashion wise and their own local designers as well. Because like even the top I'm wearing, I bought it in I think Hong Kong. So I like buying
When you
like
travel
when
to-
I travel
okay,
like local
yes.
designers and stuff. And then they've got a great night scene, like restaurants. And also I don't know if I love shisha. Like one of my friends was actually saying one of my friends was saying I must do like a podcast on where to find the best shisha in every
Shishas.
country. Like
That would be interesting. No, we'll come back. We'll do that episode.
so in Turkey, they've taken shisha to another level.
Oh my word!
Like there was one that came in an ice block. Like I was like, I'm loving this.
The
Like
creativity around it. Yeah.
And the people are amazing. And then I was chatting to Pepe and his uncle, and we're talking about the Football World Cup coming up. And so I'm sports mad in general, right? So they were saying to me, so I was saying like, oh, I'd love to go to Mexico to watch that opening match. It would literally be exactly 16 years ago where I was at the stadium, Mexico, South Africa,
game,
2010. And this guy goes, oh my gosh, Chabalala. This is a Turkish guy. Like
They remember that year.
Chabalala 2010. And it's like, oh, my heart, like I got goosebumps.
Aww.
And they were like, oh, the best World Cup ever. And so there are people who, like they appreciate other countries as well, and South Africa, like which I really love, you know.
Man.
Yeah, no, I would highly recommend Istanbul.
Okay, no, I'm gonna go. After you've just described it this way, like I have no excuse but to go. Okay. You just talked about sports and Formula One. When did that start for you? Like was it Schumacher? When did it start
definitely.
for you?
So when I started working at Unilever in 2000, I had a friend who was massively into Formula One. And I remember going, so let me understand this.
What?
So you sit and watch these cars doing
So fast also.
Just why? Like, and I love sports, right? But I couldn't get like, why would you do that? And he said to me, there's so much, first of all, strategy into this. I was like, what strategy? People are just driving fast. Like, there's no strategy. It's this and stuff. And so I was lucky enough to have a connoisseur of the sport actually teach me the sport. And at that time, Michael Schumacher was completely like at his like epic peak, you know? And I fell in love with Ferrari. And just from then on, it was just a sport. And it used to be very weird, like guys, if you're sitting with guys and stuff, and I'm like, yeah, but I don't get the tire strategy. They're just like, what? Like,
Oh gosh.
and actually, like, interesting enough, the who was his name? The Ferrari engineer was a South African at that time. Yeah, it was, and it's so that also just
there was this
loved that.
connection
There was
also,
connection
yes,
and
so
stuff.
home.
Yeah. So I fell in love with Formula One, and the first time I actually went to a Formula
race,
One
yeah.
was in Abu Dhabi when I was living in Dubai. So when they got the first race in Abu Dhabi,
Oh, so you were there for that first
the
one.
first
Oh
one.
my word.
And after watching this thing on TV and you get to experience it, I have never been so happy. And I remember, so Michael, this was when he was finishing, his career was now ending, and his car crashed actually, so he didn't finish the race, but it crashed there. I was like,
Yeah, the joy of it.
So
It's a crash, but I'm happy it happened here.
Yes, and stuff. So yeah, that was my first one, and then I've got a group of guy friends who also love Formula One, and so we then decided actually this is our thing. We're gonna when we do so it's two guy friends. When we do our travel together, it's always gonna be around Formula One. Yeah.
It's the same ones you're with in Monza because I saw the photos. I was like, oh. So how was the Monza experience? I guess just think about all the races that you've been to. What has been the one? I mean, I think for me, my first one, I only went to two.
Yeah.
My first one was in the Zandvoort one in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh. And Naki Mutua, what's this? Drive to Survive.
Yeah,
What is it? Drive to Survive?
Yeah, the one on Netflix.
Yeah, so that's how I got into it. Because I was like, I want to actually watch this thing. And people like, watch this. And then I watched it and then I fell in love with it. But just being there, oh my goodness, what an experience. And I was like
adrenaline at another level.
I was like, every year I must find a way to go to a race. So when you look back, I know you went to Monza and it was quite special for you as well. What has been the one that you're like, if you are to start with this one?
So, interestingly, I actually think Abu Dhabi, and I'll tell you why. It's the mixture of entertainment. So what they've gotten right, the 3 days. So practice like Friday, Saturday. Every night there's a concert. So I got to experience Prince live, Lincoln Park.
All in one weekend.
Yeah. And so, like, even if you're not a massive Formula One fan and stuff, like, just I think what Abu Dhabi does really well is that combination of like entertainment and the Formula One itself. I think the circuit is actually pretty decent. And it's, it turns into night and it looks like really beautiful. And even the background with the yachts. So it's not Monaco, but like the background with the yachts and stuff is also beautiful. And if you're lucky enough, which one day it happened to me, because as I lived in Dubai, I went to all 3 of like the races and stuff. Got invited to a yacht, but I remember my friend and I claimed we were just like, hey,
we are going.
us.
Yo, I love it.
And honestly, like as a South African, I mean, it's a direct flight, whether you fly Emirates or Etihad, and it's pretty affordable in general and stuff. And yeah, so I would say just to ease yourself into it, that might be the best one. Because I can tell you with Monza, I'm a Ferrari fan. Temple of Speed, Monza is like home. Like it's so and it was amazing being there. Like honestly, I don't honestly, and in fact, when I stood on Enzo Ferrari Street, I got very emotional. Like and then obviously knowing that Lewis Hamilton now drives for Ferrari, and was just like a big thing. But if you think about where Monza is, it's in the middle of nowhere.
I never would have gone to Monza if it wasn't for F1.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then when you leave, I mean, we sort of like were walking out, and then we found like a corner restaurant somewhere. It ended up being our restaurant, like the owner. It was like those Italian restaurants where the owner is the chef and the daughter is the waitress and stuff. And so we ended up hanging out there. But like there's not a lot of entertainment options. So you have to get back into Milan and all of that. So I think races like Monza are for purists.
Yes,
like if you really love the sport and stuff, because actually like around it there isn't much. And then what we did as well, because it was Monza, paid ridiculous amount of money to do a tour of the circuit, like walk. And one of my favorite,
to be one of your friends. That is amazing. So you did a tour around.
And then it was literally, I think it was the Saturday before the race, and so the engineers were still like in the pits and stuff. And I mean, I hate Red Bull for many reasons. And one of them being Lewis Hamilton should be an 8-time champion.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But can I tell you, I was so jealous. Those Red Bull engineers, they were playing reggae and they're like doing the cars and they're just vibing. Oh my gosh, it was, and then you could see, because it's the pit, and upstairs is each office for like the cars, and you can see they're talking about like, oh my gosh, strategizing.
Yeah.
I know, it was incredible. So I think as a purist, you have to go to like Spa, Monza, Silver, like you have to. But if you're starting, I would say just go to Abu Dhabi.
I agree with you. A friend of mine, she has never watched F1 in her life. Now she knows now I'm all of a sudden into F1 and I'm going to races and stuff. So she moved to the UAE, I think a year or two ago. And last year, she was like, oh, there's a race and I'm going to go, Lelo, what should I do? I'm like, go.
Yeah.
She went alone.
Yeah.
And she is like, she came back and she had never watched the race before.
Yeah, exactly.
The first time she watched, she was there in Abu Dhabi, and she was like, oh my goodness, like the best time of her life. And she went alone. And the beautiful thing about being at the races, you meet so many people
anyway.
And people are so friendly and they're so happy. It's like so much fun. So I agree with you on Abu Dhabi. I think the concerts, because she also attended some of the concerts, and it was just beautiful.
I mean, I think what the Arabs have done really well is to understand this link between sports and entertainment, and what a powerful link it is.
Sure, I've kept you here for so long, but anyway, so I just want to ask you though, we spoke about the fact that career lady and very, very busy, but you've made this conscious decision of, I'm gonna live and live for me. Yes, the work is there, the work needs to be done, and it will be done brilliantly, but I have to live. And there's a lot of women who are, possibly looking at you And when I looked at you, I was like, yes, this is what I meant.
Yeah.
And there are others who are probably looking at you and saying, how does she manage to
Yeah.
do all of this and, still shine on all areas? How do you
Yeah.
say to that?
Again, it's like a very conscious decision to your point, but I
Yeah.
live, I call it my work-life integration. So I don't I don't have work-life balance at all, but it's a work-life integration. I'll give you an example. So on my 40 before 40 list, I had drink champagne in Champagne, drink a Burgundy in Burgundy, drink a Bordeaux in Bordeaux.
Oh, yes.
And I remember when we took the train from Champagne to Bordeaux, I worked, even though I was on leave. And it means nothing to me. I'll have a glass of wine or champagne, and I
Do
don't
your
think it
thing.
takes nothing from me. Because at the same time, even now when I go to Cannes in June, that's a work trip, right? But I get to go to see my best friend in the Netherlands, get to go to Sweden. And so I've crafted my life in a way that when I'm taking leave, I'm happy for my team to call me and WhatsApp me, blah, blah, blah.
Yes,
But also, on a Thursday, I leave 135 Rivonia and just go smoke shisha and have a glass of wine somewhere. As long as for me, the delivery is there. And I've got pretty high standards in terms of that. I've always been an overachiever and very competitive.
Yeah.
So as long as that continues to be there, where you do it from really, is not that important. And I was looking now for this thing that this Imagine program that they've invited me to be on. I'm looking at the dates and I'm like,
amazing.
oh, so I've got Group X. Okay, I'm just going to do Group X from London. Like, I'll dial in. Like,
I'll be there. I'll present if I need to. But yes.
Yeah. Even for Can Lions, like we've generally our business planning sessions in June, we generally present to the board and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
May I dial in? I'm like, hey guys. So I'm in the south of France. It's Can Lions.
Bonjour.
Bonjour. It's so nice. And everyone's cold here. Me, I'm there with my t-shirt.
Oh, I love it.
And I present my strategy.
Yeah.
And obviously I've built also, I guess, credibility.
Yes.
And so that gives me room to be able to, play with that. Then when I'm done, the board asks me questions and I say, guys, thank you.
Bye. Yeah. I love that because I also always say, because people also, you were shocked when I told you I'm also in corporate.
Yeah.
People will think, but how do you do it? Because I always say, when you are at work, be there, do the best
Absolutely.
that you can, so that when you need to bounce, you can bounce without guilt and knowing that I've done my bit.
Yeah.
And also trusting the people that you work with.
Absolutely.
You can continue, you can do whatever. When you need me, call me. But do your thing. And I just absolutely love that. Okay, so Kensi, just one last question then. What's your advice to all of these women who are thinking, maybe I'll travel at a later stage, not now. Let me kind of settle myself first, and I'll do it at. I guess maybe your parting shot to everybody that's looking at your travel experiences and the balance. Well, it's not balance; it's integration. The integration that you've got, and saying, I want to get that done. How?
Yeah, just do it. To be honest, like I think we overthink it.
Yeah.
And when I got to the point where I realized, so of course I love traveling with my friends, but also if they're not coming, I'm going alone. Like I will honestly, like
Yes.
you've got to do what's right for you. And then also like if you feel a little bit nervous, go to Mozambique. Like, Mars is actually one of my favorite countries to travel to, in so many different places. Vilanculas, like so many. So if you feel a little bit uncomfortable, do Southern Africa.
Yeah.
Namibia, Swakop is like absolutely gorgeous and stuff. So for me, it's just do it. Because if the more you wait, the more nervous you'll become. And now I'm such a confident traveler, it doesn't matter. Like, there was, when I was at the Dracula's castle, there was this British couple dressed like Dracula. And the guy was walking around as if he's drinking blood in this goblet.
Yeah.
And everyone was looking at them, right? And they really wanted to take pictures with them, but no one was asking. But because
And
of
there
doing
goes
this,
Kensi.
I was like, guys. And then he pretended to bite me. Everyone was like, oh my gosh, we want the same
Beautiful.
picture and stuff. So you've got to build that confidence to be able to, like, no matter where you are, you can, because also you'll get lost, and you're in countries where the writing is not in like phonetic English, blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
You've got to like just know, like, hi, Google Translate, like, and just have that confidence. So I would just say, just start and do it in a way that makes sense for you. So just because Kensi counts countries, if you decide that Actually, I love Nyambane in Mars, and that's where I'm gonna go every time.
Every year.
Do
yeah.
that. Like, don't make the world craft for you what your travel looks like and stuff, and even what you spend on. So I'm pretty clear what I'm gonna spend on and what I'm not gonna spend on. So I'm gonna fly business class. Like, I'm not gonna suffer like and stuff.
Why?
Right, you know what I mean? But at the same time, I'm not a big foodie. So when, like, I eat for sustenance, and if
Okay.
I go to a fancy restaurant, it's maybe my friends are like, let's, because
Okay,
they
let's
can,
go.
let's go. But now when I'm there, it's okay, food. I can eat whatever. So I mean, if there's a dish from that country that
That
I'll
you wanna try,
that's it. But
yes.
yeah, so also just like clarify where you'll spend money on, what you won't. Like, some people prefer to fly economy and like stay in a very nice hotel. Like, for me, the hotel and like
And the flights.
and the flights very
Yeah,
important and stuff.
yes.
And then even the experiences, you can go in Istanbul, you don't have to pay to go to Blue Mosque. It's free.
Oh, really?
And so you can figure out in every country, like, some of the places that you don't really have to pay to enter. And so yeah, for me, I would just say, just do it.
Do it.
Yeah.
I love it. Thank you so much for the beautiful conversation and for sharing so generously.
Yeah.
Really, really appreciate
No,
it.
thank you for
And
having me.
I know you said I mustn't repeat places, but can we go to Lamu?
Of course. And I've never been, so I'm happy to come.
There you are adding one other place. And I see you wearing your Kenya. I'm not wearing mine today, but I also have, it's Kenya, right?
Yeah,
I also
it's
have
Kenya.
mine.
Yeah.
Why do you wear the Kenya bracelet?
So all four of these have got like something interesting about them. So the Never Give Up, my team, my digital marketing team was presenting something to me, and they asked me to pick one, and I just picked this one. And then, and I swear it, when I summited Kilimanjaro at the airport, my sister gave me this, and so it stays there.
Yes.
Ubuntu. So Ubuntu Pathways is a charity. It's a school actually in the Eastern Cape. It's a very fascinating school, which is like, it teaches it's in the township, but it gets funded all over the world, right? And it teaches kids robotics. I mean, it's insane. I went to see it earlier this year. So they gave me this, but beyond, for me, like, the impact that they're having, the idea of Ubuntu is always important to me. Kenya I got last week. So as a bank, we just bought a bank in Kenya. And so the CEO, when he came, he gave us all of this. And it's important for us to make sure that, yes, we bought them, but actually we're partners. And so when he saw me wearing it immediately, he was like, oh, that's amazing. And like the whole, like, how South Africans, like, we're not like, oh,
Yes,
it's Africa.
yeah,
like,
Africa and
you know what I mean? So for me, that shows, because I've got a tattoo of Africa on my back and stuff. And so I'm African, and so putting this, like, is a mark of that.
I love that. And also, I love that you're wearing, because I also have, and I'm just not wearing it today. But then I love that. Thank you so much, Kensi.
No,
really,
thank you
really
for having
appreciate
me.
it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this conversation. So please, if you did, please like, share, subscribe, tell everybody about Chica Travel and about Kensi and the travels. Thank you. See you on the next one. Bye.